Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, all the live viewers out there. Hello to the replay viewers. Hello, Gemma.
Hey there.
How we doing today?
Not too bad, not too bad. Can't complain.
Oh, that's good. That is always good. We've got a good one today. Uh,
Mm.
it's by far one of my favorite things to talk about in the mental health field. Uh, Hello, Hannah. Welcome to the broadcast. Good to see you. Yes, this is something I learned early on at the rehab center, and
Mm.
we discussed it quite a few times. Hi, Molly. Quite a few times down there at rehab, called radical acceptance, um, and radical acceptance is such a great tool when you can. I don't want to say master it, but like come to terms with what it is, what it means, versus just like accepting things or going through maybe the 5 stages of grief and hitting acceptance. Radical acceptance has uh, its own thing about it that I mean, just kind of it all boils down to it is what it is, you know. The
Yeah.
everybody's favorite phrase for a while was "it is what it is," and that's radical acceptance. Um, a little bit about radical acceptance. It is a DBT skill. So we talked about CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy, um, and we'll get in. That's another show because that's definitely something to talk about as well. But radical acceptance is a branch off or a tool from DBT. Um, so what we'll start the same way we always do. What do you know about radical acceptance so far before we get
Um.
too into it?
Yeah. Well, I've done quite a bit of it. Um. I don't really recall it being called radical acceptance. They didn't mind you saying that they didn't really give it a title as such, but I have done quite a bit of it about how you you can't change what's happened, and it's not like accepting it as a way as accepting it and like thinking like pain, like my chronic pain. I can't change that. I'm not accepting it in the way that it's a good thing to happen, but like you said, it is what it is. And it's trying to change the mindset of that to accept it, that that's what's happening, but like look at it in a different way. In
Right.
that it's used for literally everything.
Hmm. So yeah, like acceptance is by far the first step to being able to make any change in your life or to any situation. Um, we're going to get Hannah spun up tonight on radical acceptance. I'm going to go ahead and put up the first picture that I've uploaded here, just basically what we're talking about here. Just kind of go over a little recap before we get too deep into it. What is
Mhm.
radical acceptance? This is it boils down to the acceptance of what reality is and as it is. Uh, then you take that you take the acceptance and then you build from that or you make changes or you make decisions based off of that. um, you got to stop fighting reality as it says. Uh, basically um, expending all of your energy or expending a lot of energy towards fighting what the reality of the situation is going to cause you greater stress and suffering than just what the reality is by itself, you know. Um, so, you know, take something that you have no control over. Uh, it's raining outside, something simple like that. Um, you can't control the weather, right? You may have wanted to go to the beach today, and now it's raining outside. There's no You have no
Mm.
control of that, and you can't fight reality because it
I
is what it
swear it
is.
when I wash. Every time I put my washing on, it rains. I swear that. But yeah, just
um,
putting.
and that's just reality, you know. That is what
Mm,
it is, and so you kind of have to just accept that instead of trying to fight it. And okay, maybe we'll hit the beach tomorrow. What are we going to do instead? What are we going to do about it? What can be done? Can anything be done today? Maybe we can go do something indoors,
mm,
etc. So that's kind of the basic scope of it. Um, Turning the mind implies that acceptance is an active choice and requires an inner commitment. Um, so yeah, like it says there as well on the third bullet, emotional and physical pain plus the non-acceptance of it equals to suffering. So
mm,
that's what I said before. You're basically putting this non-acceptance is driving this wedge. You're trying to fight what reality really is. Um, of which you have no control over, and now you're just suffering more. Basically,
mm.
you're putting way too much energy into something you can't fix, you know. And we used a lighthearted um, kind of example there with raining on beach day, but I mean this can range from a wide variety, you know, all the way up to death. Um, we were taught radical acceptance in the manner of death, but almost with the caveat um, that you shouldn't just jump right to radical acceptance with something like the death of a loved one. You do have to go through those 5 stages of grief. You do have to. Um, it's very important that you make that journey with a significant loss like that. Um, uh, but yeah, anything to add on the beginning there?
No, that really explains it well. Certainly, like you said, with the grief, it's important to go through the phases, the stages to get to that. And I know certainly when going back to the side of the pain and things, with the acceptance of, like, with me, with the pain and things that I have, in a way, I had to go through the grieving stages as well to grieve for, I guess, for want of a better way of putting it, the person that I once was before my health deteriorated, and accepting that, like, yeah, okay, I can't do anything to change that. My body's changed. I have this pain. I had to grieve for the fact that, okay, yeah, this has happened, this has changed. It was really difficult because for so long I was fighting it, like you said, and it was the whole why me? What have I done to deserve this? And that really is draining to have that mindset. And I didn't see it at the time, but certainly after I began to accept it. I mean, I say accept it. Can you ever truly accept it? That's why they say about this form of, like, the radical acceptance. I can't change it, and I've accepted that I can't change it. There's nothing I can do for that, but
Mm,
trying to find better ways of dealing with it, you know.
right. Yeah. Hannah was nice enough to put the 5 stages in there in the comments: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. And with that, again, I'd like to point out we're not saying for I'm not saying that for something as as significant as the death of a loved one per se, that we should just jump right to radical acceptance here, and you know, not take that journey on the denial, anger, bargaining, and depression, because your body will, your body and mind and soul will go through those 5 stages
Yeah.
on their own.
And
It's
each
not,
person's different with that as well.
yeah, and you might hit them in a different order.
Mhm.
There, um, that's the order that it's always been um, listed
Yeah.
in. But I've learned that you're not always going to hit them in that exact order.
There's no
Um,
time frame either. Like again, everybody's different with how long it takes them to get through each stage.
right, exactly, and you're more than likely your mind, body, and soul are hitting these 5 stages of grief on their own. That's not something like, okay, I'm through my denial. Now I'm going to go on to my anger. You're kind of
Yeah.
moving through this fluidly and not, um, kind of what's the word? Subconsciously.
Hmm.
So, another important thing to mention that radical acceptance, the word radical here, in the sense of this phrase, radical acceptance, is to mean full acceptance, um, not not anything more than just that. We want full acceptance of the situation or scenario. Um, if he or she seeks professional help, acceptance stage is quicker. Can
Hmm.
be, yes. Certainly going to a professional psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor, they will help you through those 5 stages of grief, or at least you'll probably be well or more aware of, what stages you're hitting. But yes, radical in this sense just means full acceptance, fully understanding the nature of the issue, problem, scenario, and going from there. Um, it hit home for me at rehab when one of my counselors there was explaining radical acceptance to all of us in a group setting. And um, he actually picked me out and said, "You're here with substance abuse problem, alcohol. So basically, I can break it down specifically for you in this sense so you can understand what radical acceptance is that radical acceptance is knowing that drinking alcohol will kill you and then making a decision based off of that. So there's no, I have to do this. There's no, I should do this. Basically, I do have to stop drinking. Like I had to stop drinking or I was going to die. But at the same, on the other side of that coin, he wanted to make damn sure I knew that you don't have to do anything. So just because I have to stop drinking doesn't mean I have to stop drinking. Or better worded, I guess, I don't have to stop drinking just because I have to stop drinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it has to be your choice.
Yeah. Another thing that was greatly stressed about radical acceptance is that it's not, if you radically or if you accept something in this radical sense right now, uh, you're not putting your stamp of approval on it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, yeah.
If there's any questions, please throw them down in the comments section. We always love to get to those. Um, or if I'm not explaining something correctly or whatever, please let me know. Uh, but you're not putting your stamp of approval on it. So you got a shitty situation like me, alcoholism. Uh, that just because I've accepted this does not mean I necessarily approve of it. I'm still not happy about it. Um, but now I've accepted it and I've been able to make a clear and rational decision on where I want to go with my life from here. Do I want to keep drinking and rules be damned, my health be damned? Or do I want to live a healthy and long life, potentially? Uh,
Mhm.
so, anything else to add on anything so far, Gemma?
Yeah, it's like what you just said to kind of explain it in a different way. when you'd accepted, like, or anybody, when you accept that that's where you are and that's how life is, I guess you come to like it's like a junction in a road. You come to the point of, right, okay, this is what's happening. This is how it is. I can't change that, but what I can do now is decide which route I'm going to go. And with you, like you say, it was, do I continue to drink or do I stop drinking? Either way, it had to be your choice, as it is with anybody. The outcome depends on the choice. Like with you, and you chose to stop, thank goodness, and here you are today. And I personally think that you're doing great, and that I'm glad that you made that choice. And it's with like any decision, like that you have, and when you've accepted that that is where you are in life, there's a choice to make, even if sometimes the choice seems like there isn't really a choice. Always, I guess, is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a case of which road you're going to go down from there.
Yes, and yeah, that gets back into that. You don't. There's no have tos, or there's no such things as shoulds, musts, and have to. Um, it's a radical acceptance is a present tense term, so we're not dealing with the past, or trying to fortune tell like we learned with
Mm.
the cognitive distortions we talked about. Hey, Jim, Swift Beats. How are you guys? Thanks for the awards. Really appreciate it. So yeah, and then taking that and branching off. So what's the next step? Uh, once we have accepted
Mm.
whatever shit situation that we find ourselves dealing with. What do we do now? What am I gonna do? What do I want to do? How do I want to see this unfold? Do I want to do anything at all? Is there anything I can do? Things like that. I'm sure there was certainly when you learned of Thomas's diagnosis. I'm sure
Mm.
there was certainly the 5 stages were run through,
Oh
but
yeah.
at the same time, also there's a little bit of radical acceptance thrown in there as well, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. That definitely was something that I had to go through. And the initial like knee jerk reaction of it was, I remember saying to the doctor, "No, you've got it wrong. My son doesn't have cancer. You've got it wrong. You've got it wrong. You need to do more tests. Like you're wrong." And I couldn't accept that at first, but then, as I say, it did. The more they sat down and spoke to me and did things and showed me, I did begin to like it started to sink in, and I'm thinking, okay, right. And I went through the whole, why me? Why Thomas? Have I done something wrong?
Right.
As like, is this punishment for something? And it was those stages. I did have to come through them pretty quickly with it, because when they diagnosed him, it was like, okay, he has leukemia and he has a mass on his chest that fills 89% of his entire chest cavity. We need to start treatment right now, otherwise he has less than a week to live. So I had to quickly get out of that whole you're wrong stage to, shit, it is what it is now. This is what I've been given. I have to deal with this, because
Right.
obviously with him being a minor, I had to sign to give permission for everything. So it was like, I need to snap out of this and I need to deal with this right now.
Right. Exactly.
Hmm.
And I'll throw this up while we have a moment talking about that. Um, this kind of basically sums it up. What you were just kind of saying, like
Hmm.
you go through all this. Why me? Why us? I don't like this. did we do something wrong? What can we do to change this? Change this diagnosis, which you don't have any control over that. And then you look at the other side there, it's raining, or insert situation here, and it's just yep, So that yep comes with a great gift as well, because now you have that mindset to go in and okay, how are we going to attack this? And did you guys come to, or when you hit a sense of acceptance there, what was your next step in your thought process of, all right, how are we going to go after this?
Like after I'd got to the stage where it was like, okay, yeah, right, they are telling me the truth. He has got this. I had to go to the stage of like, well, okay, what's going to happen? What are you going to do about it? And I remember, like, I got very, very upset. I was crying, saying, you need to save my son. Please don't let him die. And they were giving me loads and loads of information and leaflets. I came away with a file, and it was like really big. And I don't think for the first, maybe even the first week, anything that they told me, I don't think went in. Like I was hearing it, but it was just not processing.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I had to literally sign for everything that they were wanting to do for him. So like I was signing to agree for the treatment because it was a case of, well, if I don't, he'll die. So I didn't have much of a choice in the sense of, if I want my son to live, I have got to let them do this. But I was aware that, yes, okay, even though it's not a very nice choice, it is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I went obviously with the choice that gave my son a longer life, or hoping it was a longer life. And here we are, just over 2 years on, and it's been a very bumpy road, but he's certainly like going strong. He's like still the cheeky chappy that he was, very, very unfiltered at times and all, but I think most of that's a boy thing. But yeah, once I realized and accepted it, I think the point for me of acceptance, really accepting it, was when they'd taken him into the theaters, and I was holding him because they were about to put him to sleep to have his central line inserted, even though he couldn't have it straight away because of the mass on his chest. So they'd been treating him for 2-3 weeks prior to that, with chemotherapy and steroids, and he was getting much larger because of the steroids. And I was seeing all this being done. I was there, I was witnessing it all. But for me, the real wow, this is really happening, was when I had to hold him whilst they were putting him to sleep, and I was cradling him, and he just went to like, it was like a dead weight, and he was there, and he just like flopped. And then they whisked him out of my arms, put the breathing tube down, and I was literally whisked out of the room really quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out of the room, collapsed in the corridor, and screamed at the top of my lungs, why is this happening? And I just broke down, and that is for me when it really hit home. And yeah, no, like, yeah, Jim, literally every 12 weeks I have to have him put to sleep again for these spinals. And again, it never gets any easier having to literally hold your son for them to put him to sleep, seeing it, the whole process of like, oh, and then he's gone. Even though he's not under long, that was the longest part when he had the central line inserted. And like, yes, whilst I have accepted that this is the reality, I hate the fact it's him. I hate the fact that we're going through this, but it is at some point, like definitely with the grieving process and everything with that I went through.
Yeah. And you know, that also brings us back to, that uh it's not your accepting this is not your stamp of approval on it, you know.
Mhm. Oh, far
And
from it.
right, it's just acknowledging it, basically, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
you come to a point where um when you hit that acknowledgement, that acceptance, and you can move forward, you're not surrendering. Now you're gonna, consider all the options and make changes as you can. How do you want to handle it? And li- basically, the big buzzword around the mental health that we always say, mindfulness. Um, that is exactly what radical acceptance is. It's just living mindfully, um, in the moment. As I said, radical acceptance is a present tense term. You're living in the moment, and you're uh, taking each thing one thing at a time, and one day at a time.
Mm.
um, yeah, it's crazy, but at the same time it's also very good. Now I mentioned how I learned, uh, specifically for me, when my counselor said radical acceptance is knowing drinking alcohol will kill me and making a decision based on that. I also see it. I wanted to mention this earlier, but I forgot. I see it in my wife now, as well. She had to radically accept this with me. Like, we were engaged at the time, so she had to radically accept that her future husband, her fiance, was
Mm.
addicted to alcohol, and make a decision based on that. Thankfully, she stuck around. We're married now, happily, and but yeah, I mean, there's a sense right there where out of nowhere she was presented with this uh, potential very damaging thing to our
Mm.
relationship that came almost out of nowhere to her, because I was pretty professional at my drinking and concealing it, or at
Mm.
least at least I like to think I was. Um, but uh, yeah, next thing she knows, she's got. Yes, Swift. I can see your comments. Sorry to change the topic, but look at me. What is the knife, fork, spoon on the wall? Is there a teeper? Oh no, that's I don't know. My wife found that at some store. She liked it. That my kitchen's right back here, and that's the dining room table. Um, no more than that. Um, but yeah, now she's found herself in this position, and you know she also has to make some acceptances and then some decisions based off of that. So you found. Let's talk about how to practice radical acceptance. You found a list to go off of.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
You want to start reading some of the the
Yeah.
lists, and we can stop and talk about some of them.
Yeah, yeah. So it says the 10 steps to practicing radical acceptance. So observe that you are questioning or fighting reality. Like it shouldn't be this way, which we've just really discussed. And then remind yourself that the unpleasant reality, just as it is, cannot be changed. This is what happened. Then remind yourself that there are causes for the reality. This is how things happened.
Yeah, so that's a good one.
Mm.
Everything happens there. Uh, Everything happens for a reason. We know that, but there are causes and effects of what has happened, what has come about, and coming to the acceptance stage and moving forward, understanding cause and effect, we can
Mm.
then make our decisions a little bit easier.
Yeah, yeah. Where are we? Right. So it says like number 4, practice accepting with your whole self, mind, body, and spirit,
Mindfulness.
using accepting self-talk, relaxation techniques, mindfulness, and or imaginary.
And to that point as well, I also found, well, of course, I always tout journaling. Like I've said before, it's been one of the most therapeutic things I still do today. And I always thought I've never been a writer or journaler or anything like that. But it is by and far one of the best things I do. And meditation, self reflection, all of these things, daily check ins. I still do daily check ins every now and again, just to make sure
Yeah, I
everything's
tend to do
going
quite
well.
a lot of documenting and things. Hey, Katie. And literally last week, I had a counselling session, and they was trying to introduce tapping, and that had radical acceptance within that. Whilst, have you ever done that with the tapping? Like you start on and tap. It's supposed to be like acupuncture points and things,
Mm-mm.
and going through that and say,
I
it
know,
was on about
I know this. That's
I
all.
had to do like on here, and then I have to think of the point. I've actually got a document which I can share with you. Maybe we can discuss it another time, actually. And it was to go on here and think and here, and there was a number of different pinpoints to do, and it said I something like I acknowledge the pain that I am in, and I fully accept this. And you had to repeat it. It was very repetitive within what it was doing, but this literally was like tapping with radical acceptance, where you were acknowledging that things the way they were. Like with mine, we literally did the pain that I was in, because on the day that I was in a lot of pain and discomfort because I'm still waiting for my surgery. So he pinpointed it on that, and getting me to, I think I had to repeat 3 or 4 times that I accept that I'm in this pain, and I choose to ignore it. And I had to go through different stages of my body saying different things. I didn't think to actually bring that up, but I'll share it with you afterwards, and
Sure.
maybe that's certainly some of the things that I've been doing lately, certainly something from maybe another broadcast at some point.
And Swift
But
Beats brings up a good one there. He asked, "Has music ever helped you?" And I know you and I have talked about it at length how important music is in both of our
yeah,
lives.
yeah, definitely.
Just another great tool to relax, meditate, soothe. You know.
Yeah, definitely. It's certainly helped me a lot. Um, right, where number 5 then. Okay. List all of the behaviors that you would engage in if you did accept the facts, and then engage in those behaviors as if you had already accepted the facts. Number 6, imagine in your mind's eye believing what you do not want to accept, and rehearse in your mind what would you do if you accepted what seems unacceptable.
And moving
Um,
into that, what would you do next phase, and
mm,
what do you want to come out of it?
yeah. Like something again that I did in my counseling session. There is something that had it, like when I was at the age of 16 for about 4 years. I mentioned it before. I was sexually abused for 4 years, and I was raped on 2 occasions by the same person. It was at a workplace, and this workplace, up until fairly recently, like it was something that I could avoid. However, they've gone and moved my housing office right next to that place, and I have lost money because I've not been able to go and get forms and things, because I've allowed myself to not be able to go there. So one of the things that we did, which is in relation to this is he said, imagine you are watching yourself in a film, and I want you to tell me what happens from when you leave the house, when you're getting ready to leave the house and you leave the house to get to that location, and then what you do going into the housing office, get the form. And he wanted me to describe everything, like what I was wearing, which route that I took. And it was about making it so that I was imagining myself doing this, but me sat there was watching this happen to me that was imagining it happening. And one of the things that I said we were going to do, because he said about making it into a film, is that I am going to go to that location and I'm actually going to video it as though I'm making a film at the time, so that then I can bring it back and we can watch it together. Because thinking about it before, it was for me, it was a very scary thought of having to go and visit somewhere that I knew I'd been raped. And even though it's not anywhere particularly scary, it is just round the back of a supermarket and it's a lot of wasteland and stuff. To me, it was scary and it seemed impossible. Now, going through all this now, it doesn't actually seem that impossible. I don't know, it makes me feel uncomfortable, but I have again accepted that is something that happened. It was a long time ago, and that I can now change that by doing the thing that I need to do and empowering that and overcoming that fear by doing this.
Right.
So we've done a lot about that, which I think is what that refers to.
Absolutely.
And then certainly with like number 7 as well, attend to body sensations as you think about what you need to accept. So that's something that was mentioned as well. Like, what are you feeling? Like thinking about what my body was doing being there and what my body was doing while sat in that chair in that room having the therapy.
Right.
The last few: allow disappointment, sadness, or grief to arise within you. Acknowledge that life can be worth living even when there is pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one, which I've done quite a few times, do pros and cons lists if you find yourself resisting practice acceptance.
Yeah, that excuse me, that last one.
Mm.
I know I've talked about it several times in previous episodes about just basically putting a thought on trial and weighing the pros and cons, um, taking what your initial thought is and basically trying to find out whether it's a cognitive distortion or not, like just putting it on trial and yeah, moving forward from there. What was number 8 there on your list?
The one about disappointment: allow disappointment, sadness, or grief to arise
That's it.
within you.
Yeah. That right there is basically also just reinforcing that it is still very important to go through those 5 stages of grief.
Mm.
For some more significant loss type stuff. We have done the episode on significant loss, so that's a good one to go back and refer to. And I think I even mentioned in that episode that perhaps radical acceptance doesn't really have much of a place when you're dealing with significant loss, as it is very important to hit those 5 stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So you still get to acceptance, but you got to let your body go through, your mind, body, and soul go through those 5 stages.
Yeah.
So another important thing I thought of while discussing that is that these things that we can't control, like the weather, you know, a certain diagnosis,
Mhm.
the death of a loved one. Uh, these are obviously where radical acceptance can come into play. Where we don't want to see it being used is in those situations where there's a potentially dangerous aspect to it, such as like an abusive relationship. Okay,
Mm.
we're not going to radically accept that our significant other is beating us up. That's no that's not a time for radical acceptance. This is a
Yeah.
dangerous situation, and there's only one change that needs to be made, and that's for the health of you and your well-being. Um, it could be
Yeah.
easy. You
Go
could,
through that.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure you could weigh in. Like you could probably make an argument that it could be easy to find yourself trying to radically accept this because either you love this person, you don't want to lose them,
Yeah.
etc. But yes, this um, it's not one of those times where you want to be using accepting the fact that you know
Yeah.
your significant other is beating on you.
I know. I like of all the times I've struggled to accept the things that I needed to. That was certainly one of the times where I was trying to. I know, like, it's as though I was making excuses for him for a long, long time, and I had to realize I was doing that. Certainly, like with my son's dad, the abuse, like most of it was like mentally abusive and definite narcissistic tendencies. But there was physical abuse as well, and I was going through the whole, well, if I split up with him, my son's not gonna have a dad. I do love him. I'm sure he'll change, things like that. And I had to learn that no, he's doing this to me. I need to get out of this situation for mine and my son's safety.
Hmm.
And at the same time, I was like, I need to break the cycle here because I had it where my dad was physically abusive. I had my partner at the time, my son's dad, and I needed to break that cycle so that he didn't see that and think that that was acceptable to continue, then
Exactly.
making him a potential abuser in the future. So for his benefit and for his safety and everything else, I had to break that cycle.
Yes, absolutely. And
Mhm.
in a way, um, I guess I should have probably stated it a little better. So we don't want to radically accept, or we don't want to accept at all that
Mm,
um, this is an abusive relationship and it is what it is.
mhm.
Um, but we do want to accept that this is an abusive relationship and I need to do something about it. You kind of covered that, but I just wanted to reword what I had originally said. Um, it's a tough topic there, and that'll definitely be another show as well. So much to
Mhm.
talk about with
Oh, they're
that,
really
and I'd love to have the discussion about that potentially maybe with Lucia. That could be a good
mm,
good episode as well.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
you know, some of the other big takeaways is that nobody can make you think, feel, or do anything, and vice versa. You can't make anybody, you can't control anybody. Just like a situation that you can't control, you can't. My wife couldn't control my addiction
Mhm.
because nobody could. I had to ultimately come to that realization, that acceptance, and make changes based off of that on my own. And that being said, we'll throw up this last image I found that I thought was pertinent. We've talked about what radical acceptance is, but there are, the misconceptions as well. Just a couple here. It does not mean we approve. I've covered that of the circumstances. If we accept reality instead of denying what is happening, That's what we're trying to accomplish here. We're accepting reality for what it is, whatever the
Mhm.
situation may be, and not trying to fight it, especially over the stuff that we have no control over. Um, and number two, there, it does not mean we don't aim to change things. I think I started the broadcast off by saying, in order to change, we first need to accept what our current reality is, and that is, in a nutshell, uh, mental health. You know, or one of the best quotes I think along these lines for mental health. In order to change, we need to accept what reality is. And I said it 2 or 3 times already tonight. I've said it in another broadcast. I needed to accept that fact of the matter that I had a problem with alcohol, and only then have I been able to make any kind of changes for the better. Um, Anything to add on the misconceptions there, Gemma?
Um, no, I think you covered it, like, but yeah, definitely the first one is like a big thing. A lot of people think that you have to accept
Right.
what it like. It's not that you approve of it, like you say, not anything like that. And I think when you realize that, it becomes a little easier, I guess, to start with the radical acceptance of everything.
Absolutely. And it once you can achieve some acceptance as well, you can get a little. You'll see. Hi, Kim, from London. There you go. You can see that you'll get some motivation even. Uh, I know. I mean, I hate to keep beating a dead horse, but of course, this is the biggest thing in my life right now is the alcoholism. And when I made that step to acceptance, there was just a ball of fire, or fire lit under me to start making the appropriate changes, which is which was never there before. Um, it it was always, one of those things. I'll get around to it. I'll get around to paying bills. Anything like that. Um,
Mm.
but accepting or coming to terms with what the reality of the situation was finally really motivated me to start making those changes. And the desire was there, the want, um, and understanding. And I actually accepted the fact that I didn't want to die as well at the same time, uh,
Mm.
because that was a question that was up in the air. Unfortunately, I've never been suicidal, but I had what they refer to it as passive death wish. So basically, I would never take it upon myself to end my life, but I would go put myself in some shit situations or do some risky things like go skydiving, and the hell with it. If I die, I die, kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I mean, just a couple other things to mention about the benefits of radical acceptance. Giving you that motivation uh, to move forward.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um,
I, for one, am certainly glad that you went down the route you did anyway.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride for sure so far.
Mm.
Like, something I was so uh, just all around scared of. Um, I kind of always knew in the back of my mind that I was drinking way more than anybody that I worked
Mm.
with, or went out drinking with. Like, I could outlast everybody, and um, I was always tooting my own horn over it. But it's just, I think I was prolonging the realization, and the acceptance. Certainly, I mentioned before that alcoholism comes from both sides of my family tree. So I mean, it was like honed in. Crosshairs were on me from the get go. So I was able to put it off long enough that I had some fun. But now it's time to accept what reality is and make those decisions. And going down this path that I've chosen uh, has
Mm,
been one of the greatest experiences so far. I would have never met all you all you guys, especially you, Gemma, joining me on this broadcast. Um,
mm.
it's been uh, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. I'm on. Like I say, I'm honored that you've asked me to do this, and I think there was a reason that I went on to Haps that night when you were doing the broadcast with Lucy. And normally I wouldn't go on at that time, but I try to keep off my phone, otherwise it can end up being I'll just check my phone to 3 hours later I'm still on my phone. Um, but like you certainly have come a really long way, and I'm proud of you. I'm glad that we met, and honored to call you a friend now. So I
Absolutely.
definitely think that maybe that's something we can discuss again at some point, how you got there, because I'm guessing like you like achieving all you have and stuff has made you want to help other people more, right?
It certainly has. Like it is a part of my recovery, or any recovery really. The 12th step of
Mhm.
Alcoholics Anonymous, having had a spiritual awakening. I work in the program. We now go forth and help others on their journey, um, using our experience, strength, and hope, and what we've learned to help others succeed as well, and not feel so alone. Uh, but I think, just the kind of person that I've always been. Like I've been a DJ of weddings.
Mm,
You know, being a firefighter has been very, you're very open. Uh, what I'm getting across is that I've never been shy on camera or on a microphone. Um,
mm,
so I've always kind of liked doing this stuff, and now to have such a platform or such a topic that I've taken in so much over this past year and a half
mm.
almost is just great. It's very enjoyable, and the it blows my mind the every time we get on here and
Yeah.
the amount of people that get talking about mental health, and it's great. Um,
I think it needs to be done in order to change the way people see it, because it used to be such a taboo subject where you couldn't discuss it. And if you had depression, oh, that makes you a bad person. And I think that that definitely needs to change. And the more people do talk about it, and the more people realize that it's affected probably way more than anybody can imagine, that that only then will it truly be accepted and start to change the way people perceive it,
mhm.
because there's so many people out there that you would look at and think that they were fine. And usually, like with depression and stuff, certainly in my case and many people I've known, usually the people that are walking around with a smile on their face and seem that everything's fine, they're the ones that are really not. And I know, like, I find it cool that you did DJing too, because I was also that. And I think a lot of that was down to my love of music and how it helped me. But I think that often, like I say, the people that are suffering the most are the ones with the biggest smiles, the ones that are goofing around a lot, because I know how much it how crap it is to feel so alone and so miserable and so down all the time, which is why I think I've made it my mission to make sure that other people at least have a laugh or a joke. And like I do, I'm terrible at goofing around, and I can take the broadcast down the 20 in 30 seconds flat. But I think that a lot of that stems to the way I feel inside, and I'm accepting that now. and coming to terms with that now in order to heal myself. Sorry, I took that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Looks like well, we got about 5 minutes. We'll do a quick recap like we normally do. And also I wanna send plugs out for Lucia. She's getting ready to go live at 7 my time, so midnight UK, and what is that? 4 o'clock Pacific. And then tonight, Catalyst from Chicagoland with Jim. That'll be what, 9 o'clock. Jim, are you still in here? Is that 9 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock your time, or 10 o'clock my time, 9 o'clock your time? Make sure you catch Jim in Chicagoland. His Catalyst broadcast is one of my favorites on this platform. It really goes well with Wednesdays that we decided to start broadcasting on Wednesdays, and then Lucia does her mental health show right afterwards, and then we all kind of just decompress around the fire pit at the end of the night there with
Good
Jim.
night's broadcast.
Yes, absolutely. So going over a quick recap, I think we covered a good bit of information. I encourage people to watch the replay if they want to go back over anything, missed anything. But the long and short of radical acceptance is those 5 simple words. It is what it is. And then knowing it is what it is and being able to accept reality for what it is, making a decision that can making a decision based off of that knowledge. What you want out of it, what can you do with it, what can be done, do you want to do anything with it? Another big takeaway, of course, was do not fall into radical acceptance with potentially dangerous situations. I want to reiterate that we're not radically accepting the fact that we're in an abusive relationship or anything. We need to get appropriate help. And there's Jim. Jim, what time was Catalyst tonight on my time? I guess I'm an hour ahead of you. Is it 10 o'clock my time? Yeah. So please reach out for appropriate help. There will be a future episode forthcoming. 11 p.m. Eastern. Okay, awesome. Put that up. The future broadcast coming on abusive relationships, sexual or physical. Tough topic to talk about, but we have great folks, Gemma included, to weigh in on all the issues. And we're not radically accepting that. We're getting the appropriate help immediately. We're radically accepting the fact that we need help out of this situation, right?
Yep.
Do you have anything else in closing there, Gemma, before we kick it over to Lucia?
No, not really about the topics. I think you've really covered it well. One thing that I will say, like, if anybody ever wants to, I guess, join us and discuss mental health and like either share your story or just discuss anything in general with us about mental health. Certainly the more people discuss it and normalize the fact that mental health does affect everybody, then we'll start moving on into a world that accepts it more and is more open. So if anybody does want to like come on with us, that would be great. You can contact either one of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to further help get the word out there when these broadcasts are finished and the replays are posted, feel free to share them out to all your socials. We even talked with Bo from last week's episode. He's more than happy to have it continued to be watched and seen. And we appreciate any further sharing onto socials and everything to get this topic out there and continue the conversation. So yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Welcome back, Gemma.
Yeah, it had to do it, didn't it? We've got
right at the end too.
Right,
Almost made it.
nearly.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Gemma, for hosting with me.
Oh, thank you for
We'll
having me.
see everybody over with Lucia and with Jim later on tonight. How about?
Mhm.
And as always, we'll leave you with the new end screen with all the numbers that you can reach out to if need be. Thanks again, guys, and I hope everybody has a great night.
Yeah, thank you.